I'll try to start this as good as I can without seeming crazy or cliched or whatever. My name is Amy, and I really need to get this off my chest. Maybe someone can tell me if they get what I'm talking about, and maybe convince me I'm not insane. I'm sitting in the dark, keeping the backlight off my phone right now. So there's a game, maybe you've heard of it, it's called Peaky Boo. And most people think it's just a kid's game. Children play it at parties or wish to scare themselves, and of course when their parents aren't watching. Hell, I used to play it throughout my childhood, though to be fair, I'd always chicken out. I'll explain the rules of the game, and that should help give some understanding, though I suppose that's pretty standard for a game, you know. 1. You must be alone. 2. You bring a flashlight. It used to be a candle before flashlights were a thing. 3. Face a clear wall in a room that is completely dark. 4. Say the words, "Peaky Boo, I see you," and then immediately shine the light on the wall. 5. Repeat this process until Peaky Boo reveals himself. Apparently he'll appear as some sort of weird-looking shadow puppet. 6. If he doesn't appear, then you can stop at any time. 7. If he does appear, get rid of him by sitting in the same room he was summoned, face the light on the same wall, and say, "Peaky Boo, I don't see you." Pretty straightforward, right? Any kid can learn and stick by these rules. Problem is, when you play them as a kid and nothing happens, you get comfortable. Then as you get older, the rules can get a little fuzzy. Honestly, as a kid, the scare is fun, because while there's a sense of danger, you kind of know that it's all just make-believe. I played so many times, and the only time I ever got really scared is when I accidentally had my finger over the flashlight lens. Though of course, there are always people who would say that they saw Peaky Boo and either weren't scared or didn't have anyone to back up their story. Now I'm 17, and my best friend Carly is having a house party while her parents are out of town. Every teenager's dream, right? I get there and things are pretty standard, slow, uncomfortable start, but as the night continues, things start to pick up. A bunch of us are sat in the lounge talking about school, the teachers, all the stuff we've done this year, and how great life will be when we get to college. Then we start on the truth or dare stuff, and eventually that leads to the bravery contest. My friend Todd is the first to propose we put each other to the test. "Who's up for Bloody Mary?" he asks. "Ugh, that's so dumb," Carly says, clearly unimpressed by the idea. It never made any sense. Why would some dead British princess appear in a mirror just because you say her name? I have to admit, she made a good point. But then she just has to go and ruin it. Let's go with something classic. Peaky Boo. "That kid's game?" I said, apparently feeling too mature for that, but not for Bloody Mary. Carly smiled and nudged me. "Yeah, it's way scarier than looking in a bathroom mirror, and we can play in the basement." A short silence was soon broken by Todd. "Yeah, sure, let's do it." I put on my best brave smile, but secretly I was wishing that we could just go back to talking about college. So we all stand around the basement door, and one by one people go down by themselves. As expected, those who came back upstairs are talking about how it was nothing and they weren't even worried. Then it was my turn. Great. I take the flashlight and get a quick "hope it's not hungry" from one of the others before I go. Asshole. Carly's basement isn't your stereotypical horror movie basement, with old junk and creepy dolls staring at you from dark, spider-filled corners. Her dad converted it into a man cave for himself, though her mom has also put some cool stuff down there as well. So there I am, casually walking down the stairs, thinking I'll just sit on the couch and play this stupid game in some comfort. Carly, as great as she is a moron. She completely forgot to mention that her parents were having the basement redecorated. So rather than a somewhat creepy, but relatively nice games room, I get dropped into white bed sheets covering all the furniture, which is now looking like one big game of guess who's under the sheets. Whatever, so I sit in an open space in the middle of the floor and face the wall. I point the flashlight against the wall. "Peaky Boo, I see you." I knew it was all crap, but I still felt the same fear I did as a kid. I turned the flashlight on and nothing. Figures, I thought. I had a few minutes to kill, so I figured I'd humour the childhood nostalgia and give it a few more goes. It actually became kind of fun. I started leaning forward and turning the flashlight on faster. Peaky Boo, I see you. Flash. Nothing. Peaky Boo, I see you. Flash. Nothing. Peaky Boo, I see you. Flash. Wait. There was something, like a small lump on the edge of the light. I stared. There were 2 holes in the lump, one large and one slightly smaller. I thought for a moment maybe I caught something in the light, but there was nothing in front of me. The space between me and the wall was empty. I didn't say a word, and in an instant I turned the light off. All I could do was sit in the dark, but my doubt and curiosity urged me to turn the light back on. In that one stupid moment, I turned the flashlight on. There was a tall, gangly shadow. It stood in the center of the light, just staring at me. After a moment of total shock, I screamed. I dropped the flashlight and ran towards the stairs. I threw myself up the stairs and I know I shouldn't have, but I looked back and I swear the shadow was still there. Not even the eyes had moved. The door swung open and I leapt through it. I could only imagine my face as I turned back to the dark doorway of the basement. One of the others in the kitchen slammed the door behind me and everyone was looking at me. Are you okay? What happened? Carly was kneeling beside me. Is someone down there? She asked. All I could get out was a no. I couldn't keep my mind straight. Then, oh my God, there's no way you got scared by your own shadow, asks Andrew, who's a colossal ass, just FYI. Though, to be fair, it did snap me back into reality. No, I saw a rat, I said, trying to burn a glare into Andrew's soul. Seriously? I think Carly knew something was wrong. I'll have to let my dad know. Shitty construction crew. Needless to say, things at the party were a little awkward. But it's one of those things that will go away. Besides, there was some way more embarrassing stuff at that party. The rest of the evening was boring. The party died down and everyone went home. Walking home was weird. The whole walk back I couldn't shake a feeling. Not the someone is following you feeling, but more like there's someone right next to you. It's like every step I take there's someone walking with me, staring at me. I kept looking around and eventually I just ran the rest of the way home. I couldn't stand not being able to shake that invisible companion, and the paranoia stayed with me even as I got home. As soon as I got inside, I slammed the door and locked it. Checking through the peephole, I thought I'd seen an eye, but for a moment I didn't see anything, just darkness. After a moment, I felt safe knowing that I was back home, my parents with me, and I could finally get a break from this creepy paranoia. It was only after I turned around I realized I was standing in complete darkness. Mom? Dad? Nothing. No response. I was alone. I practically threw myself at the light switch. I kept checking the windows were shut, the doors were locked, and the crawl spaces were clear. Armed with my dad's bat, of course. After clearing the house, I finally checked my phone, and wouldn't you know it, it was dead. So I set it to charge and sat down with some TV. I get a late message from my mom letting me know that the car popped a tyre and she and Dad were waiting for a tow. The light in the living room was dead, so I put the lamp on next to me and let the TV light the rest of the room. I really didn't want to go upstairs into my room yet, so I figured I'd make camp on the couch until my parents got home. Things were quiet, which isn't unusual for 2 a.m., but there was something unsettling about it, as if all life had left the area. Like in a movie when people are in the woods and a monster scared all the birds. Trying to ignore it, I turned up the TV. After a while, I started to drift into sleep. I remember my eyes getting heavy, and I turned off the TV and the lamp. Click. I thought I was dreaming, but then I felt a grip around my neck. It was weak, but definitely there. I jerked awake and threw my arms around, expecting a masked intruder to be standing over me. But I was alone. Then I noticed it. The lamp. It had been turned on. The lamp made a small circle of light over the top half of my body. That click from my dream was the switch. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I swear I can see someone standing in the doorway to my living room, illuminated by the kitchen light down the hall. Panicked, I turn to see it and I can just see a shadow moving across the floor, away from the door. I shoot up and grab the bat, moving to try and see around the door without getting too close to it. I know I saw something. I don't know why, but I turned the lamp off. Something about it being on made me feel really exposed and vulnerable. I stood there in the dark, trying to listen, but there was only silence. I'm staring at the door, but I can't see anything save for the light from the kitchen, partially illuminating the hallway. "Whoever you are, if you don't leave right now, then I'm gonna bash your head in," I say in the most assertive voice I can do. Nothing. I can't hear anyone moving. All I can hear is my heart beating through my chest. Then I remember my phone, and without taking my eyes off the door, I slowly shuffle back over to the couch. I try feeling for my phone, but can't even find the cord. So I quickly look down to where I put it, and to my horror, it's gone. I think maybe it's dropped on the floor and keep darting my head from looking at the door to where I hope my phone will be. I find the charger, but my phone is nowhere to be found. Then I remember the landline. In that one moment, I swear to God I'll never make fun of old phones again. I pick up the phone and, beeping, the other landline is off the receiver. And now I feel both totally alone and completely surrounded. I can't hear anyone, so part of me is trying desperately to convince myself that I'm just overreacting. I did all the checks, I know I did. It's just me. I'm just being paranoid. That's it, I'm just tired, a little tipsy, and that game. It couldn't be. Could someone have followed me home? I knew most of the people there, and while I don't get along with everyone, I've never gotten a sense of stalker from any of them. No. Worst case, it's just some random intruder in my house and hiding. I start making my way towards the door, hoping that I can at least make it to the front door and scream to the neighbours. I get to the doorway, where the living room meets the hall, the kitchen light still my only source of light. I'm leaning against the open door, hoping there isn't some knife-wielding Michael Myers behind the wall. But first I enter the hall. The coast is clear. I think for a moment, do I go to the kitchen and try to make my way out the back, or do I head for the front door? The shadow, which way did it go? It all happened so fast, but I'm sure it went towards the kitchen. Why would someone head towards the brightest part of the house, though? I was sure that if someone was trying to hide, then they would be in the darkness. And the hall was dark, but it was pretty open, so I figured I'd take my chance. Moving slowly and scanning the long room with every step, I move through the hall. I'm about 3 feet from the living room door when I hear it. It was a long, quick, scraping sound, like metal or plastic across wood. I turn around as quickly as I can, just to see my phone slowly coming to a sliding stop at the edge of the doorway. I should have run. Almost every part of me was screaming to just get out, but that one part whispering to me, "Go see." And I did. I moved to the phone, bat fixed on the door, staring into the darkness. I couldn't see anyone. I picked up the phone and pressed the button to unlock it. As the light from the phone blinds me, I hear something. "Peaky Boo." A low, rasping voice, or more like some nightmare, completely, terrifyingly inhuman. It was almost like I couldn't control myself now. The light from my phone still shining, I slowly pointed it into the dark room in front of me. I thought it was me, my shadow standing there, but I was wrong. Long, misshaped, with cold, empty eyes. It was a slow, shifting stain on the floor. Looking at me, I knew. I couldn't believe it, but I knew, if that makes any sense. I looked at it, and it stared at me and whispered, "Peaky Boo." Those freezing eyes were burning into me. I struggled to fight back, but I couldn't even feel its hands slowly crushing me. In a moment, the light from my phone dimmed and went out. Immediately, I felt the creature's grip on me weaken. It was enough for me to break away and run for the front door. An awful cry of pain and anger filled my ears as I slammed the door behind me and ran down my driveway. I couldn't think of anything else to do but run. Every shadow terrified me, as if I was being chased from every direction. I had no idea where that thing was, but I knew it was looking for me. After sprinting for as long as I could, I had to slow down to a quiet jog. I was already exhausted from how late it was, and now my adrenaline was wearing off. Nowhere felt safe, so I kept moving, trying to stay out of the light. For the most part, I think it's strongest there. Don't step in the light. I waited for what felt like hours, but was probably just a few minutes. I kept picturing that figure silently moving across the street, or leaning over me as I watched out for it. After a while, I tried to calm down. I needed to think. How is this possible? It's real? It's really real. Where did it come from? Why is it after me? Then my mind went quiet. I never finished the game. It's after me. And it can get to me because I never finished the game. Carly's house. I have to get back there. I remember that you finished the game in the same room. Slowing to a quick walk and keeping low, at the time I thought it would help, I took out my phone. Searching for Carly's number, terrible scenarios started playing out in my head, and with every ring I got more and more anxious. What if it had gotten to her first? What if it was already there, waiting? Hello? Carly snored into the phone. Carly, it's me. I'm quietly wheezing. Oh, Amy, why are you... I don't let her finish. Carly, I need your help. I'm coming over. What? Now? Wait, why? I can hear in her voice that she's slowly waking up. I need... 3 beeps from my phone cut me off and told me that I was out of power. All I could do now was keep moving and hope to get to Carly's without drawing any unwanted attention. The silence was terrifying, and every slight noise made my heart skip a beat. Finally, I arrived back at Carly's house. For a moment, I thought that maybe Peaky Boo hadn't followed me here. I'd had no trouble on my way over, which made me feel kind of embarrassed when I thought about how I'd been doing this whole ninja routine on the way over. I was just on the edge of the front yard when I felt cold. I turned my head back and looked down the street. Everything looked clear. Then I stared at the patches from the streetlights. It was there. That creeping silhouette in these circles of light between the darkness. It was moving down the street. I didn't know if it had seen me, so I put what was left of my energy into running to the front door. I tried to open the front door, but it was locked. Any stealth was now gone. I began slamming my hand on the door and shouting for Carly to open. I briefly looked behind me to see the shadows were gone. Just gone. Just then, the ground floor of the house lit up and Carly opened the front door. I pushed my way in and slammed it behind me, locking it and turning off the lights. What the fuck? Carly asked, more afraid than angry. What's going on? Before I could actually get something out, there was a quiet bump against the door, as if something was gently trying to push it open. We have to go to the basement. I grabbed Carly's arm to lead her away, but she wouldn't budge. I can't see anyone. Carly looked through the glass of the front door. I pulled at her arm again and she began to move. Carly, come on, we need to get to the basement. I was so set on getting to the basement, I didn't even realize that she wasn't following me. By the time I got to the basement door, it was too late. That slight squeak may as well have been a fire alarm, or a funeral bell. Carly opened the front door, just enough to look out. Fear froze me in my place, and I could only scream out a whimper. Shut the door. Carly seemed to hear me, turning her head to look at me. She still looked confused, but slowly shut the door. There wasn't anybody there, she said, turning on the light. I couldn't move, but the look on my face must have said it all. Amy? I could hear the fear and confusion in Carly's voice, but I didn't respond. As she slowly turned around, she saw the huge, crooked shadow on the wall. Those empty eyes appeared and disappeared, as if it was blinking, occasionally changing shape. Carly silently followed its gaze as it stepped from the door to the wall next to her. The next thing I knew, Carly was choking. It was strangling her. This broke me out of my daze and I ran over to her. As I got closer, I reached for the light switch, only to be strangled myself. Being lifted into the air, I kicked and struggled. I couldn't stop staring, and those eyes were now on me, its body tall and malformed, with its arms bent and twisted as it held Carly and me. It was stronger now, definitely more than it had been back at my house. As I kicked, I managed to hit the light switch, and once again we were surrounded by darkness. As the light went out, the grip became light and we were slowly let down, though I could still feel that presence around my neck. "Run!" I choked out, grabbing Carly's arm as I ran towards the basement door. That awful scream I heard before filled Carly's house just as we got to the entrance to the basement. As I ran down the stairs, Carly threw herself against the door. "Whatever you're going to do it quickly," she shouted at me. As I reached the basement floor, I hit something with my foot. My eyes barely adjusted to the darkness. I could just make out a small dark shape on the floor. It was the flashlight. I picked it up and turned to face the same wall I'd started the game on. Peaky, just as I began to speak, I turned the flashlight on the wall and a strong grasp covered my mouth. Peaky Boo was staring me down. I tried to turn off the flashlight, but my thumb was being held down. I couldn't move. "I see you," it whispered to me in that low, guttural voice. Suddenly, I was hit from the side as Carly threw herself at me, knocking the flashlight from my hand. I fell to the floor and looked to see Carly grabbing the flashlight. She turned it to the wall, and there stood that nightmarish shadow puppet. As soon as I saw it, I yelled, "Peaky Boo, I don't see you!" And with that, the light went out. I don't know how long we were down there, in the dark, but I couldn't bear to wait, and I couldn't take the uncertainty any longer. "Turn the light on," I said, trying to stay as calm as possible. "Are you sure?" Carly asked. "Yeah, do it," I answered. Carly turned on the flashlight and scanned the room, but it was all clear from the looks of things. She then went upstairs to the switch. The bulb illuminated the basement, and there was nothing. Just Carly, me, and a whole bunch of furniture. We talked for hours after that, until Carly got a call from my parents. They were terrified that I wasn't home and couldn't contact me, and furious that I had left the house unlocked and unattended. I didn't know what to tell them, so I just said that I lost track of time, which didn't gain me any sympathy. So I'm grounded for a couple of weeks. Luckily, they didn't take my phone away, which is why I'm able to write this. Nothing's the same anymore. I barely sleep. I keep jumping at my own shadow, and the nightmares are still haunting me. But these aren't the things that have been bothering me the most. I've been thinking about the game and how I followed the rules, both summoning Peaky Boo and sending it away. And I don't know if it's just the paranoia. I thought I saw it today, just a few minutes ago, right outside my door. I'm probably just being crazy, but, well, the last rule says to sit in the same room where Peaky Boo was summoned, alone. Carly was in the basement with me. What if that breaks the rule? What if it's still here, waiting and gathering its strength? Carly says she's been getting the feeling of being watched too. I just feel like I'm only safe in the dark, but then I feel like I'm being watched. I don't feel safe anymore, and the lights, they just turned on. Good day, I'm Joe19, and thank you for listening. I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. If you did, then perhaps subscribe, leave a like, and if you're feeling particularly cheeky, maybe even a comment. I do hope that you'll join me again. Stay safe, sleep well, but remember, here we make monsters.